Hi, my name's Lauren, and in this short video, I'm going to reveal a weird little secret that will allow you to get pregnant in just 60 short days, even if you've been endlessly trying for years without taking any drugs, no evasive and embarrassing tests done by strange doctors, and without spending thousands of dollars on expensive surgeries. In fact, even though this might sound impossible now, once you watch this short presentation and do what it says, you'll finally feel that getting pregnant is not only entirely possible with my advice, but actually quite simple. This incredibly effective pregnancy solution I'm about to reveal has been successfully used by over 742,000 happy couples all over the world in just the past 2 years alone. Even if you've been trying forever and getting pregnant feels impossible right now, you'll feel like you suddenly have a magic switch that turns on the fertility center in your body. Your heart will skip a beat when you finally see a positive pregnancy test. You can go out and officially buy the paint for a nursery, but above all else, be able to hold your newborn child tightly in your arms. And I personally promise you, what I'm about to reveal here will work, no matter how long you've been trying to have a baby. Even if you're in your 40s, no matter your partner's sperm count, or even if you have tubal obstruction, even if your doctor says you have high levels of FSH, PCOS, or endometriosis, been told you have uterine fibroids or uterus scarring, ovarian cysts, also known as lazy ovaries, my solution will even work if you've had a history of miscarriages in the past, safely and faster than ever thought possible. So why has getting pregnant been so difficult? Shouldn't it be the easiest, most natural thing in the world? Now, when I personally first decided with my husband to have a child, we both thought one magical night would do it, and 9 months later, we would be holding our very own child in our arms. What we got was about a year of frustration, sleepless nights, and constant worrying that something was wrong with us. Maybe we weren't normal. It was heartbreaking. At the early age of 2, I knew that I was destined to be a mother one day. All it took was holding my very first doll in my arms. As a child who was obsessed with dolls that blinked when you moved their head, ate plastic food, and would even pee in a diaper, the thought of not being able to have children of my own didn't even cross my mind. At the age of 32, I had realized getting pregnant isn't easy for everyone. The world as I knew it shattered all around me as my first pregnancy test came up negative. By the time I experienced my 5th negative pregnancy test, I was utterly heartbroken. After a full year of unsuccessfully trying to conceive a child, I finally felt like just giving up. I resigned myself to never being able to have a child of my own naturally, to feeling like there had to be something wrong with my body, and even at one point staying awake at night wondering if my husband would ever leave me for another woman who would be able to give him children. But then a few years ago, I stumbled onto a simple question that changed everything for me, that opened a door and led me not only to giving birth naturally to a beautiful baby boy, but getting pregnant a second time just 2 months after giving birth to my first child. What was the big question? Well, it sounds kind of silly, but here it is. Have you ever heard of women who could get pregnant so easily, all it takes is for them to sneeze? Now, I'm well aware that sneezing won't get you pregnant, but think about it. How's it that some women can get pregnant so easily, while you've been doing everything in your power to get pregnant but with 0 results? Not to mention all the frustrating stories you hear about women who don't even try and accidentally get pregnant. I won't even mention all the maddening stories of women getting pregnant by mistake, not even wanting a child to begin with. So how come some women get pregnant so easily while we're still struggling? You'll soon discover how you can actually transform your body into a baby-making machine and give birth naturally to healthy and beautiful children of your very own. First, let me explain that your body is hardwired to get pregnant as a survival mechanism. Reproduction is baked into our DNA. If the human body wasn't designed specifically for reproduction, you wouldn't even be here right now watching this video. The ability to reproduce is a gift that no woman should be denied. Here's a cool way to visualize how things work. If we compared the inner workings of your body to someone who sneezes and gets pregnant, the wires in their body are all properly connected and fully optimized to bear children, while your wires, on the other hand, are also all there, but instead tangled and not making the right connections needed to properly conceive. Let me personally tell you now that reorganizing your wires is actually easy once you know exactly how it's done. In the same amount of time it takes to watch this video, you can do everything it takes to have your body back on the fast track to having a baby of your very own. So if correcting our bodies to reverse infertility issues is so quick and easy, why do women bother with extreme drugs and dangerous treatments with absolutely no guarantee they'll work? A great question. I asked myself that same question. And what I discovered both shocked and disgusted me. The companies who pump out these fertility drugs want you to believe that they are a miracle solution. What makes it even worse is that these companies slip millions of dollars into the hands of doctors so they recommend them to their patients. Can you really trust a doctor who tells you to use a drug solely because they get a commission for prescribing it? What's more disgusting than a drug company paying off doctors to peddle their fertility drugs? The fact that they're charging hundreds per bottle to desperate women, knowing full well that the drugs could in fact have life-threatening side effects. Much like the tobacco industry, drug companies will do whatever they can to cover this up, but the proof is in the studies, the ones not secretly funded by these drug companies. A study conducted at the University of Washington, along with the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center, took in 3,837 women. Marianne Rossing, DVM and PhD, analyzed the data from this study and discovered that the women who had taken the infertility drug were 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with ovarian cancer than those who hadn't taken the drug. Freaky, right? So with fertility drugs no longer an option, I decided to start researching in vitro fertilization. And let me tell you, unless you're very well off financially, this surgery will leave a large gaping hole in your wallet. The odds of this method working are less than 50-50 and will be leaving you anywhere from $66,000 all the way up to $800,000 in debt. Even if you're one of the lucky ones it does work for, here is a fun fact. In vitro fertilization comes with a 35% chance of having 2 or more children at the same time. Which brings me to the story of Natalie Sullman. In 2009, Natalie underwent in vitro and 9 months later gave birth to a whopping 8 children at the same time, now commonly known to the public as the Octomom. Imagine the expenses of raising 8 children at the same time on top of trying to pay off in vitro treatment. If you're worried even the slightest about the toll it takes on your body after having just 1 child, completely clear your mind of what your body might look like after pushing out 8. I simply couldn't afford in vitro or take the risk of having had more than 1 child at the same time. It just wasn't an option for me, and I had to find a better way. So after studying the alternatives in depth, I learned that expensive drugs and surgeries were only a sneaky way to jump in front of the line, so to speak, with the odds of it not working and only placing you back further in line than where you were before. It wasn't until I started seriously studying the inner workings of my body, compared to those who had no trouble at all getting pregnant, things started to click. I was on my way to uncovering a solution that not only allowed me to go from hopelessly childless to a full-blown baby bump in just a matter of weeks, but a method you can use right now yourself, repeating it again and again to go on and have as many children as your heart desires. Infertility issues are a lot like owning a car. With age, your vehicle shows more and more signs of wear and tear. Little alarms start going off all over the place, and for the most part, we ignore them or put them off until a later date. See, ignoring these issues and not putting a stop to them right away always leads to much larger problems down the road. Just as your car will give off alarms and signs that something's not right, your body does the same. The common factor between nearly all women experiencing infertility issues is that they ignore these signs because they simply don't understand what they are. Just like many people don't understand how a complicated car works. It's not your fault. Finally, after years of research, I was able to establish my one-of-a-kind approach to reversing infertility issues, showing that if you know what different alarms are going off in your body, there are simple and effective methods you can start using right now to fix them, while dramatically decreasing the amount of time it takes for you to get pregnant. Over the years, right up until I gave miraculous birth to my first child naturally, I kept a detailed journal of all my findings. I organized it all and laid it out into a perfect step-by-step blueprint that I would soon put to the test, using it to hopefully conceive my next child. I followed my own guide word for word and quickly was able to officially stick a dagger in the heart of the once infertile, always infertile myth I regretfully had once come to believe. By the time I had consumed so much information on fertility and pregnancy, my head was about to explode. I decided to package up my findings into an easy-to-follow guide any couple could instantly start using. It's the guide I wish I had when I first started researching a solution to my fertility problems. Think of it as your guaranteed shortcut to getting pregnant naturally. I belonged to an online forum of women, all having a hard time getting pregnant, and asked any of them if they'd be interested in giving my system a test drive. By the next day, I had come back to find my post had received a whopping 304 replies, all asking me to send them a copy. I gave over 500 copies out to both men and women that week. All I had asked is that they follow my guide word for word and give me their results 60 days later. Want to know what happened after those 60 days? I'll tell you. When results started pouring in, it sent shockwaves throughout the infertility world. Out of the 500 couples who originally tested my system, a mind-blowing 398 of them had naturally become pregnant. Now, this might sound strange to you, but in that time, I was even invited by 15 of the overjoyed couples to come witness the birth of their first child. Crazy, right? Now, if you're like most people, you might be thinking, okay, you've convinced me. There's a fast and natural way to reverse infertility issues. But what about the remaining 102 couples this didn't work for within 60 days? I'm glad you asked, because after following up 10 months later with the 102 couples who did not see results immediately, I'm happy to report that 28 of them went on to eventually get pregnant naturally with further use of my system. Now, clearly, I'm not saying my system works for 100% of the couples who used it. Could you really believe someone claiming a 100% success rate? But in my trial run, over 85% of the couples who used my system got results. Now it's about time I introduced you to my quick and simple course, Get Pregnant Naturally in Just 60 Short Days. My quick and effective system is a step-by-step guide based on my proven methods and is designed to take you from hopelessly childless to your very first positive pregnancy test in just 60 short days. And it works even if you've been unsuccessfully trying to conceive over the past year, all without harmful drugs or expensive and evasive surgeries. When you invest in my shockingly affordable course and go through it like the thousands before you, you'll rapidly, almost unconsciously, transform your body into what I now jokingly like to call a baby-making machine. You'll finally be able to tell your parents they'll soon be grandpas and grandmas, stay awake at night with your partner coming up with baby names, even if you haven't already decided on one. Experience the glow that comes with being pregnant, and in just 9 short months, be able to hold a precious child tightly in your arms. A child that both you and your partner were able to conceive together naturally. In fact, if you're like my thousands of satisfied readers, you'll be on your way to becoming more fertile just hours after first getting your hands on a copy of my guide. The pregnancy approach is based on years upon years of personal research. It's been used, tested, and perfected by thousands of couples all over the world, and is clinically proven to help naturally correct nearly all reversible infertility problems you're currently facing. Just listen to what Tish had to say. Lauren, just around 1 year ago when I got your guide, I never thought I would be writing this to you. In my late 20s, I was unfortunate to have experienced not just 1, but 2 miscarriages. This left me emotionally drained, and I honestly didn't think I could bring myself to try a 3rd time. Now in my late 30s, and while it may sound ridiculous, I convinced myself that there must be something to the old saying, the 3rd time's the charm. So this time, with the help of your guide, my husband and I decided to give it one last shot. Following your method to a T, I felt a positive change in my body, and I had a gut feeling that this would work for me about 1 week in. Every other Monday, I'd pull out a pregnancy test, or a pee-stick as my husband would so elegantly call it, and cross my fingers. The 6th week into your program and my 3rd pregnancy test, 2 pink lines appeared and my eyes teared all up. 9 months and 8 days later, I gave birth to a healthy and beautiful baby girl we named Samantha. I truly feel that if it wasn't for your method, Samantha would not be here in the world today. God bless you, Tish. Here's one of my favorites from Kelly. Dear Lauren, for the past 4 years, I have been dealing with different infertility issues, and at my last visit to the doctors, he said something that had me believe my only option might be adoption. He said, having a baby just isn't in the cards for you, my dear. My heart sank to the ground, and my arms felt weightless at my side. I started to uncontrollably cry right there in his office. So loud, in fact, I bet they could hear me all the way in the waiting room. A few days later, my mom found your site and got me a copy of Pregnancy Approach. To be honest, after the visit to the doctors, I thought reading it was completely pointless. That all changed just after reading the first chapter. I was hooked and read your entire guide in a single sitting. I took one last leap of faith and really gave the method in your guide everything I had. I wanted a baby of my own more than anything in the world, and am the type who fights for what I want. So did your guide work for me? Well, about 3 hours ago, I took my latest pregnancy test and waited for what I felt like an eternity, and it showed a happy face. I'm pregnant. About 2 hours ago, I took that